Hey, it's Rachel Cooke, your modern mentor. I'm the founder of Lead Above Noise, a firm specializing in retaining, engaging, and developing talent. And, one of the most powerful drivers of talent retention and engagement is a really impactful employee experience. I've worked with dozens of companies to help them understand what the employee experience actually is and what it isn't, and how to dial it up to amazing. And the great news today is that you don't have to wait for your company to take action. You can actually take your experience into your own hands. So let's talk about how. But first, hey, if you're a regular Modern Mentor listener and you feel like this podcast is adding value, please take a minute to review it on Apple Podcasts. It makes a huge difference. I super appreciate it. Okay, let's start with a question. If I asked you to describe your own employee experience, what would you talk about? Would it be money, flexibility, office space, virtual team yoga sessions? The truth is, most of us can't find the employee experience on a map, and it's hard to change something you can't see. So let's just start with some basic geography. Like, where does your employee experience live? Well, the answer is right between hygiene and sparkle. Yes, a little clarification is necessary here, so here we go. Your hygiene factors are the things that you only really notice when they aren't there. Right? You expect things like reasonable compensation, or a safe workplace, or policies that seem fair and equitable. You only notice these things when they're not there, but when they are, you tend to take them for granted, and you should take those things for granted. Now, your sparkle factors, these are your sexy extras. The fancy holiday parties, the team yoga sessions, the free food in the office. I always tell clients, hey, if you can swing them, bring them. Sparkle factors are great, but their shine wears off quickly. Your actual employee experience lives between these two poles. And I define it as the collective set of conditions that allow you to do 4 key things at work. The first is deliver. You want to be able to deliver your best work and your best ideas efficiently, creatively, and impactfully. You want to be able to develop new skills and capabilities so you feel grown and stretched and invested in. You want to be able to connect to your team, to a feeling of purpose and a community, so you feel included and have a sense of belonging. And finally, you want to be able to thrive, right? When you're doing all of this and you're feeling well and whole and respected and appreciated, that's kind of where the magic lives. When we get these 4 things right, then we nail the employee experience. I work with clients to craft a collective set of experiences, but all the same principles apply at the individual level. So now if I were to ask you to describe your employee experience, you might reflect on things like your access to basic tools, systems, and resources, or how quickly decisions get made, how complex or simple processes at work are, and how empowered you feel to execute without having to ask permission. These things ladder up to your ability to deliver. You might think about the quality and quantity of feedback you receive, whether you're learning and growing on the job, and whether you have access to training and development, whether your leader coaches you or just tells you what to do. These all represent whether you feel able to develop. You might talk about your relationships with colleagues, or the sense that the tasks of your day ladder up to something purposeful. You might consider how much of the real you're able to bring to work, whether your voice feels welcome at the table. These all represent how you connect. And finally, maybe you think about boundaries and whether you're able to set and hold them, or how often someone says thank you for the work you've done. You might think about whether self-care or emotional and physical wellness are priorities at your workplace, and these help paint the picture of your ability to thrive. Now, when I run a session with an HR team on the employee experience, this is usually the part where I see dozens of shoulders relax. Because suddenly we've taken this very conceptual and amorphous thing and we've made it tangible, actionable, and ultimately measurable. But knowing what comprises the experience is trivia. Understanding what to do with this knowledge, how to actually shift the experience, is where the money is. So, friends, let's follow that money. Here's what I invite you to do to advocate for and shift your own experience. First, assess. right? Consider how well you're able to deliver, develop, connect, and thrive right now. This is not a hard science. I just want you to think about the ups and downs of your days. And when you hit a snag, does it tend to fall in one of these quadrants? Are you frustrated waiting for decisions to get made? Are you bored? Do you feel disconnected from your team? Are you battling burnout? Really give a think and choose the quadrant that most needs your TLC right now. Next, I want you to imagine if suddenly this experience were flipped, what would feel different? Like, has your boss suddenly empowered you to make your own decisions? Are you being stretched with a new project, or are you participating in a leadership development program? Are you suddenly logging off at 6 p.m. or just feeling super appreciated for the hard work you've been doing? Really imagine what would be different if suddenly your experience were altered. Get crisp on what actions or changes would have delivered that different outcome. Next, just choose something. As I like to say, the employee experience is not a singular thing. It's a menagerie of moments. We don't strive to overhaul it in a day, but to adjust it one bit at a time. So based on your imagined better experience, choose one small thing you're empowered to change. Like just one. It could be proposing to your boss that decisions within a certain set of parameters should be yours to run with. Or it could be deciding that you go offline at 6 p.m. or that you start scheduling one coffee a week with a colleague you haven't talked to in a while. It could be asking for access to information or for permission to join another team's meeting, or to speak with a customer to better understand how your work supports their needs. The possibilities are endless, and you only need to choose one to start. Next, act. Do the thing. Talk to the boss, invite the colleague to coffee, shut down for dinner with your family, and see how it goes. Because none of these ideas are earth-cracking. So just do it, and then note, do you feel better or worse? And finally, share. Tell someone what you did, what you learned, what you'll do next time, and why. A contagion of empowered employees owning their experience is the most professionally beautiful thing that I can imagine. Maybe this sounds simplistic, but I've spent years honing this approach. And every time I speak, train a team, or run a pulse check for an organization, I'm amazed that they're amazed by how incredibly simple and impactful employee experience can be to build. Join me next week for another great episode. Until then, visit my website at leadabovenoise.com if your organization is looking to dial up its employee experience. You can follow Modern Mentor on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Follow me on the Modern Mentor podcast page on LinkedIn. Thanks so much for listening and have a successful week. Modern Mentor is a quick and dirty tips podcast. It's audio engineered by Dan Farabend with script editing by Adam Cecil. Our podcast and advertising operations specialist is Morgan Christensen. Our digital operations specialist is Holly Hutchings. Our marketing and publicity assistant is Davina Tomlin. And our intern is Cameron Lacey.